Broadcasting to you on WNN 1470 AM and TrentoVision.tv from the world's leading think tank laboratory, buried deep in an undisclosed building in hostile territory where evil and corruption is exposed. You're about to enter the Tom Trento Show.
Arrow border, all hands flag in battle, thank you.
Tom Trento heads United West, a group that says it defends Western civilization against the onslaught of Islam.
And good afternoon, everybody. It is Friday, October 11th, 2013, and we have a little saying here at Trento Vision that the fourth time is a charm. Hopefully we'll prove that to be true today. That's a little inside joke for the studio. Welcome everybody, about 5 o'clock today on Friday. You are listening to Trento Vision on WNN 1470 AM. We are broadcasting to you from Boca Raton, Florida, and you can listen to us on the radio all the way from Miami to Orlando. You can also download for your smartphone or other smart device the iHeartRadio app and plug in WWNN and listen to us anywhere that your smartphone or smart device works. You can also watch us on TrentoVision.tv and theunitedwest.org, theteapartycommunity.com, Bare Naked Islam. And if you're listening to us in the car on your way home from work in the afternoon and you want to see the show, see some of the circus madness that we have going on here, you can access our archives at youtube.com/theunitedwest. We've done over 500 Trento Vision shows. Most of those shows have featured your host, Tom Trento. And where is Tom Trento? In week 2. Is this kind of like a shutdown of Tom Trento, of the Tom Trento show to coincide with the shutdown of the government? Maybe not. Tom Trento and J. Mark Campbell are in Israel still, but they will be back next week, and they have some amazing, amazing video and just some wonderful things to tell us about, and we're really, really looking forward to them coming home. Aren't we?
Yes.
And the crowd goes wild. They're coming home next week. So we appreciate everybody who stayed with us over the last couple of weeks. We sure had an interesting time. And we have a very interesting show for you today. We have Alan Kornman, who's going to be phoning in an interview with us. Alan is the regional director of the United West, and he has some breaking news about a stalking case on the UCF campus. And there are a few other things going on.
That's a perfect Freaky Friday story.
That's right. There are some other things going on that we're going to tell you about on this Jumpin' Jummah Freaky Friday.
I kill you!
I kill you! And with us in the studio to share in the festivities, we have, besides me, CJ, we have Invisible Mike.
Hello.
Yeah, he speaks also sometimes. And we have our producer, Damon.
Hello.
And we have a couple of other visitors to the studio. Some of our helpers are here today. We have Imam Abdullah. I fool you, you fools.
Hello, infidels.
Call me your favorite infidel.
Hello, my favorite little infidel.
Yeah, I love it when you say that. Also, the Imam's nemesis is here.
Are you talking about me?
I'm talking about Schmucky Putznick from Kings Point, Delray. He may have a comment or two about the show. And we're going to start the show today with a report from Tom from Israel. Now, is that a taped, is that an audio with some pictures that we have?
It's an audio with some pictures from just a couple hours ago.
Okay, all right. Oh, there's some pictures right there. There's Tom and Frank Gaffney on the screen there. Look where they are.
The dome.
Get a piece of the rock.
That's
Look
it.
at that. That's not Tom in a lot. So, yeah, don't worry about that. Yeah.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
Yeah,
and play
don't worry about it. Yeah, let's go ahead and play the interview.
Hi, guys. Damon, CJ, all our tremendous guest hosts, Alan Kornman, Andy Bostom, everybody that's been involved, Rabbi Kaban. Yesterday, great show. Tom Trento, J. Mark Campbell reporting live. Right now, we're in Eilat. We're down the bottom of the country of Israel. We are. If I had the arm I had when I was 25 years old, I could throw a football and hit Jordan. And Egypt's a few kilometers. Once again today, as I reported yesterday, 6 deaths in Egyptian army deaths in the Sinai, not far from where we are today. 4. So things are heating up there. Also, I read the Jerusalem Post cover to cover today, and I'm bringing it home. The information is so relevant for what's going on the national security front for Israel that we're going to go through it once we get there.
Look, there's Tom and Mark. What a great
There is
picture.
increasing talk of a third intifada, third uprising. And that's because the so-called peace talks are failing miserably, and the PA, the Palestinian Authority, is thinking about pulling out. If indeed that happens, then they have to justify somehow getting involved in this, and they're going to blame Israel, and the Muslim youth are looking for a reason to start throwing Molotov cocktails, stones, and anything else they can, thus the Intifada. This time, it's going to be erupting probably not out of Gaza, but out of the West Bank, the area of Samaria and Judea. Samaria is north of Jerusalem, and Judea is south of Jerusalem. These are the from the Muslim point of view, occupied. All of Israel is occupied. We were in Jordan yesterday, went to Petra, the city of the rock, and stopped along at some Jordanian stores, and we went through the books they were selling to tourists. And Damon, CJ, Mike, you turn to the maps, and Israel doesn't exist, or if it exists without the West Bank, without Gaza. Those are Jordan and like Egypt. So we're gonna buy one of those books and bring it back to show you. They're teaching their kids there is no Israel, basically. I sent you guys some pictures. There's 3 or 4 pictures. If you can put them together with this call, that'd be great. One of the pictures is Frank Gaffney and I on the Temple Mount. The Temple Mount is the area over the second temple, Jewish temple, but the Temple Mount had the Dome of the Rock built on it. So the picture is of Frank Gaffney and myself standing in front of the golden dome over the rock, so the Dome of the Rock, but it's on the Temple Mount. The Temple Mount refers to the Jewish temple, but the Dome of the Rock refers to the Muslims who conquered everybody. Dome of the Rock, okay. The second picture is I'm sitting on a Merkava Mark IV, the latest and greatest of Israel's phenomenal, devastating machines.
Did they let you drive it?
We had a tour of the 7th Armored Division, which is their famed tank division, and we're going to bring you a lot of video from that. The third picture that you have is Mark took a panoramic shot inside the Knesset, which would be similar to our U.S. Capitol. We were in the Israeli Knesset, met with some key members of the Knesset. We'll tell you about that when we get back.
Oh, look at that.
That's the third picture. The fourth picture is, I forgot. What's the fourth picture? Damon, did you see the fourth picture?
Yeah.
Remind me what it was.
I have
and I'll tell you about it. We had the Knesset I sent you.
I have the Knesset. I have
You guys are so cute.
you and Mark in front of the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
No. Oh, yeah, Mark and I were in front of that also.
And you
we're up on the Temple Mount. On one side is the Golden Dome that we have on our little news desk there. And then on the other side is Aqsa Mosque. And Mark and I were there, and I think I sent you one of Frank and I. So Bottom line, things are heating up definitely in the country of Israel in terms of disappointment, and everyone knew that this peace talks would be ridiculous. In fact, in the paper today, Israel just concluded a successful mid-air refueling in preparation for attacking Iran. So they are broadcasting loudly and clearly, Iran, we're getting ready, because it's clear Obama is not going to stop you. The papers today said that Obama is resigning himself to a nuclear Iran, and Israel is not going to allow that. So this country is preparing to go it alone, and they just completed a very successful mid-air refueling of their F-16s, and pretty wild stuff. So that's it. This is Jumpin' Jummah Freaky Friday. Have a great show.
Oh, I guess that was
it. That was really good. You know, we're gonna have to spend a couple of weeks, Damon. I think we're gonna have to, instead of Tom doing his show, I think we'll just treat him as a guest on the show, and we'll between the two of us, we'll just take turns tag teaming to interview Tom and Mark about their trip. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me.
This sounds good to you? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, because I haven't been, because Tom hasn't been here to show me all the emails, so I wonder what kind of emails he's been getting while he's on his trip.
Oh, I'm sure the typical love letters.
The typical love letters?
Yeah.
I look forward to reading them when he gets back. Those of you who love to write to Tom and you love to write to the show, I haven't been giving out the email address because he's traveling, and so I know that he doesn't have time to do a whole lot of emailing while he's in Israel. But I'm sure those of you who appreciate the work that Tom and Mark do will want to write to them and welcome them home next week. And you can send your comments and suggestions and welcome home emails to Tom at theunitedwest.org or Tom at trentovision.tv, and he will share those with us when we're not on camera. Is that correct?
I believe so.
All right. So Jumpin' Jummah Freaky Friday. You know, these peace talks, I did not even know those were still happening. I thought that was just something that John Kerry tossed out there, and then when we almost started to bomb Syria, nobody really was talking about anything happening in Israel. That kind of went away, so it's going to be very interesting to hear from Tom the perspective from Israel, because this is very real in their daily lives, and for us it's. Oh yeah, another one? I mean, why don't you just replay the same news from 2 years ago, from 5 years ago, from 20 years ago? Same story, different day. Israel bends over backwards to be accommodating. Palestinians refuse to accommodate, make unreasonable demands, and then blame Israel for the failure of talks and start another round of violence and terrorism against Israel to reward them for their good intentions and efforts.
Yeah. Let's get right into the freaky stuff that is Islam. I have Mr. Alan Kornman on the phone with us.
Okay.
And he did a story. We have an MSA, Muslim Student Association, you know, the oldest Muslim Brotherhood tentacle organization in the U.S.
Okay.
Stalking a professor. So let's have Alan tell us about it. Alan?
Okay, we have Alan on the line.
Hello, CJ, Damon. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us. This is a great article. You've been following the story of Professor Jonathan Matusitz for how long now?
Well, the story, CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations, as your listeners may remember that y'all had Jonathan Matusitz on your station not too long ago.
Yeah, it was just a few months ago.
Right, the Council on American Islamic Relations in Tampa, Hassan Shibli and Samantha Bowden have been having a 5-month smear campaign against Professor Matuzis. And the smear campaign has escalated to the point of stalking. On October 1st, Samantha Bowden, who is the CAIR Communication and Outreach Director, and boy, did she do outreach. She broke Section 228.091 of the Florida statute and university regulations by stalking Dr. Jonathan Matuzis by attending his class uninvited as a non-university person. And there's a security issue involved here because nowadays, the way things are, an uninvited person going into a university and invading a class, for all intents and purposes, has a lot of security issues.
Right. Alan, can you back up for 1 second? And for those of our listeners who might not have listened or watched our interview with the professor, give us a little background on his expertise and what it is that he does. And he's been harassed for the better part of the year, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. For the last 5 or 6 months, Professor Jonathan Matuzis, he is a communications and terrorism subject matter expert. He teaches at the University of Central Florida, which is the second largest school in the country. And he is very outspoken on Islamic doctrine and theology by using facts and evidence.
Right.
He wrote a textbook called Terrorism and Communication with 1,800 footnotes, CJ.
Yeah, I know. It's over 500 pages.
Yeah, this guy, he's an academic. He's the real deal, and he's created a big problem for CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations, because he just teaches fact, and his conclusions on Islamic doctrine and theology is the truth, is that they are 93% of all terrorism is Islam-related, according to the RAND Corporation, and CAIR is a bullying, hate-filled organization that the FBI refuses to even talk to.
Right.
And this is what they do, and they're trying to silence the voice of Professor Jonathan Matuzis.
Haven't they been trying to silence his public speaking engagements that aren't even related to what he's to his regular classes at the university? I know that they tried to shut down a speech that he was going to do in St. Petersburg, and another one where he was going to speak to an Act for America group, and who are these people to determine who can speak and who can't?
Well, they're the determiners of right and wrong. They are a civil rights organization that they think is always right.
Yeah, you need to put some quotes around that.
With them needs to be silenced. And that's what happened in Tampa. That's what got this whole ball rolling, CJ, is with Ahmed Badir, Hassan Shibli, and CAIR Tampa is very strong. The Pinellas Park Republican Party was going to have Jonathan Matuzis come in and speak.
Right.
So they made a big stink, and the Republican Party disinvited Jonathan, and that put a little chum in the water, and the sharks at CAIR went into a feeding frenzy at that point, which has not stopped.
Good grief. All right. Well, this instigating against him for his public speaking engagements has kind of escalated into a stalking incident with this CAIR official basically breaking into his classroom during class time and refusing to leave and having to be escorted off the premises by UCF police.
Do you have time?
No, that's not the case. She actually, according to Dr. Matuzis, she did leave. Jonathan spotted her. Dr. Matuzis spotted her in the back of the class. It was a small class, about 35, 40 people.
Yeah.
And he looked at her and goes, "Who are you?" And she goes, "Oh, my name's Samantha." And he says, "Well, you're not a student here, are you?" And she goes, "No." "Well, would you please leave my class?"
Right.
And then she made a couple of comments and came back, and Jonathan had asked her a couple of times, and then she finally left the class. Now, if she refused to, then the police would have been called in to issue her a no trespass.
But campus, I beg your pardon on getting that a little bit wrong there. Campus security was notified that She had tried to sit in his classroom without getting authorization from the university to be able to do that.
Alan, do you have time for us to play the video from your article?
Sure, go right ahead.
Yeah, we want to play that from Family Security Matters.
Right,
yeah.
My name is Sam Bowden. I work with CAIR Florida. I wanted to reach out to the MSA because I figured if any students would actually find common cause with one of CAIR's campaigns.
Well, why was there a police report filed against you yesterday for stalking Professor Matuzits?
Because I went to his class.
Because there's a police report filed that you went into Jonathan Matuzits' class yesterday without authorization, stalking him. What's your opinion on that?
I don't have one.
Did you attend the class?
No.
You did not.
No, he asked me to leave.
But you did attend the class.
I didn't attend the class. He asked me to leave.
How are you asked
So
to leave?
you were there.
Sure.
Did you receive permission to attend the class before?
I don't have anything else to say to you.
And you don't find the stalking somewhat troubling?
I find a number of things troubling. I don't find myself to be stalking him.
What would you call it then?
Attending a class, doing research.
But you're not a student here without authorization to attend the class. There are rules against that.
Sure, he said to offer permission. He gave me his card. I took it. Pretty cordial. That's it.
Can you comment on the police report filed against you yesterday here at this university? No?
CAIR's employee Samantha Bowden and CAIR's director Hassan Shibley have conducted a 5-month smear campaign against UCF professor Jonathan Matuzits. On October 1, 2013, CAIR's Samantha Bowden was caught violating Florida statutes and UCF regulations by illegally attending and stalking Dr. Matuzits during one of his classes. When a self-described civil rights group like CAIR intentionally violates the civil rights of Dr. Matuzits, where is the justice?
That's the question.
Look at that. Good grief. Alan.
Good job, Alan.
This is a really, really good video. I have to say, one thing I didn't know about this woman is that she came out of the Occupy movement.
Yeah, straight from the Occupy communist anarchist movement right to CAIR.
Right. Boy, how's that Red-Green Alliance working in Central Florida?
Yeah, in fact, Tom Trento exposed that the CAIR and the Islamic and the Occupy movement joining forces, and he's been validated once again. So that's a very interesting correlation there, CJ.
So what's the follow-up to this? Do you think the professor will invite her to sit in on his lecture?
Oh, absolutely not. I suspect Samantha Bowden will not be repeating this horrendous failed stunt again of stalking Professor Matuzits. But what I think she's going to do is use the Muslim Student Association at UCF, use them as her proxies to have the MSA students sign up for Matuzits' class next semester and monitor, and then the game of personal character destruction will begin afresh.
Right. Because what they'll do is they'll sign up for it. They'll tape his lectures. They can string together. I'm sure he's aware of this, but they can tape his lectures and string together like false quotes of things that he said in the classroom. And also, I think he should expect that that they're going to sign up for his class as a show of like to try to intimidate him and have half a dozen hijabbed students sitting there tapping their fingers on the desk while he's speaking and glaring at him or something. So
that's not really gonna faze Dr. Matuzits, CJ, because all he teaches are facts and evidence. So he doesn't really fall for that kind of, those intimidation tactics don't work. But I can tell you that Dr. Jonathan Matuzis is an academic cage fighter, and the MSA and the Council on American Islamic Relations have bitten off more than they can chew, and their unadulterated and continuing failures of destroying the personal character and career of this Dr. Jonathan Matuzis at UCF is taking them into a frenzy to where they break the law and stalk the professor because they're all out. They have lost this fight, and they don't know what to do.
Do you think they will try to influence the administration at UCF to?
Oh yeah, they've already done letter writing campaigns for the last 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
They've gone nonstop, and they have failed at every attempt because there is freedom of speech, and the professor has the right to have freedom of speech. And if they can prove where his lectures are untowards or something is wrong, or any of their vile epithets and accusations are based in fact, which there has been none, it's just been a personal attack, they've got nothing. CAIR is they're bullying this professor. They are adult bullies.
Do you think they'll give up? You think they'll move on?
No, they will not give up. Like I said, they'll send in the MSA clones to go in there and do their bidding as a proxy to go after this professor. So this is only beginning, because what they're doing, CJ and Damon, is they are sending a message to professors all across this country, is that if you stand up to CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations, or the Muslim Student Association, or you speak facts and evidence about Islam that is not to their liking, that you will come under attack. And this is the message they're sending.
Right.
This is intimidation 101.
Yeah.
And CAIR, to their credit, they are very effective at this intimidation and bullying. This story is just the tip of the iceberg of what they're doing.
Alan, what they're trying to do is enforce blasphemy laws on a public university. Essentially is what they're doing. And blasphemy does not, for audience members, blasphemy does not have to be something that is mean-spirited or false. Blasphemy under Islam simply could be anything that offends a Muslim.
Right.
And telling the truth about the violent doctrine that is Islam is offensive in these lands. In the Middle East, those personality traits are revered. In Western civilized world, it's nothing to brag about. So when we put it out there, what the fact is, they just want to silence the truth.
That's right. And I'd like to add to that, because Jonathan is from Belgium. For those of you who are listening and you may not know who this professor is, and he's been in the States for how long now? About 10 or 12 years?
Yeah, he's been teaching at UCF for 7 years.
Yeah. And so he has already experienced the Islamization of Europe. He knows what's going on. He understands the tactics. He knows that if he were in Belgium right now, he would not be free to teach what he's teaching in any classroom, or to say what he's saying in public, because there are literally blasphemy laws all across Europe against what he's doing here in the United States.
Yep, 100% agree.
So we're with him. We love to have him come back on the show, and we would love to have a visit from you in person next time. How does that sound?
Hey, anytime. Thank you for the open invitation, and thank you so much,
Thank you, Big Al,
for having me on, and thank you for promoting this very important story, because there's a lot of elements at play here, and the story is only getting started.
Alan,
let's give the address where people can go to get a copy of this article and this video. If they go to familysecuritymatters.org/publications/detail CAIR Stalks UCF professor.
Yeah, that's a long way. Just Google CAIR Stalks UCF professor,
and you'll pop up.
And the story will pop up. It's been getting a lot of play, over 3,500 hits on YouTube. It's A lot of interest has been generated, and rightfully so.
Okay.
Alan, one more question.
Yes, sir.
As far as a course of action to do on this, what should people who have kids going to that university do? What should we do to make sure that this professor keeps his job?
Yeah.
That is a great question, and what parents and students should do is contact Dr. Hitt, John Hitt, who runs UCF, and tell them that you support Dr. Jonathan Matuzits and his teachings, and then support Jonathan with letters and phone calls to the university, and that will send a message that he is having an influence, a positive influence, not only within the UCF bubble, but outside in the greater community and Florida and all of Florida. So that would be a very huge and easy thing to do for your listeners.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks, Alan. Thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for being
all
a jihadi hunter.
Yeah, all the stuff you do. Alan Kornman, Regional Director for the United West. And if there's anything happening in Central Florida, he certainly knows all about it. And he tells us about it here at Trento Vision, where it is 34 minutes after the hour. And you're listening to us on WNN 1470 AM or iHeartRadio or TrentoVision.tv.
All that good stuff.
All that good stuff.
Tea Party community.
Could I ask the imam what he thinks about what CAIR is doing to the professor in Orlando?
They are doing what they're supposed to do. This CAIR is meant to protect the civil rights of Muslims. And part of protecting the civil rights of a Muslim is keeping us from being offended.
Okay.
And this professor could not be any more offensive. They speak of jihad, they speak of the brotherhood, they speak of the threat that Islam is to the Western world. We do not want people spreading that kind of knowledge around. What it does is it slows down the process. It impedes the process of the Islamization of this country, and I do not want that.
Yes, you wouldn't want anybody slowing down the civilizational jihad taking place in this country.
And this man is like a giant speed bump.
Excellent. Okay, thank you for sharing that with us. What do we have next today?
Well, we were not able to get him as a guest on today's show.
Okay.
I think Tom wanted to cover this one himself. But
okay.
One of our regulars, or irregular regulars. But
he's a regular, all right.
One of my favorite guests that we have, someone that I read for years before I even worked for this organization, had a tremendous amount of respect
I know.
for.
Are you like starstruck when you met him the first time?
I can't believe I get to talk to him.
I know.
But Dr. Andy Bostom just did an extensive article. It's not even an article, a research project, essentially.
Right.
Going over the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, Husseini. And basically, previously...
We've talked about him on the show before, lots of times.
Many times. And one thing is, a lot of times the Muslim apologists will want to say, he was influenced by the Nazis, by Hitler. He was a tool of Hitler, and that's why he was
He was just a peaceful Muslim until Hitler got his hands on him, right?
Exactly.
Except for that's not exactly the way it happened, is it?
No, it's really not.
Okay, well, I just want to say this, because before you actually start to get into some of the details of the article, which we're just going to tease you a little bit about what this article is about, I hate to bring this up, but Tom's been gone for 2 weeks now, and I don't know, do you think it's right for him to be in Israel, having a good time, getting all those briefings, and then acting like he's still the boss of this show when he isn't here? Now, we wanted to have Andy on all to ourselves, and we said, and you can have him too when you get home. But no, he won't even share him for a 10-minute Skype interview. Says, okay, you can mention the article, but you can't...
He's hogging the guests.
Yeah, what an interview hog. What a hog. So I just want you to remember that for me for next week.
Oh, by the way, he is still the boss even when he's not here.
Okay, but how bossy does the boss have to be when the boss isn't here? That's kind of what I'm getting at.
It's Freaky Friday, so what we're going to do is we're going to tell people in advance that they have to get this article.
They have to get this article, and they should read it before we have Andy on the show, so they're well versed in the verses.
Exactly. So if you go to PJ Media, and then /Tatler, and you'll see the article. The title of the article is Haj Amin El-Husseini's Animating Ideology: Nazism, Nazified Islam, or Islam? And the conclusion that Andy basically comes to is...
It's Islam, stupid! So, that's good. Jinx!
I spoke to Andy for a while this week, and, and while he was working on it. And if you go to this link, it's basically the size of a normal editorial.
Well, it's 2 pages.
On it, though, you could link the big research article. So for anyone who's looking for some good reading over the weekend, you could go to the PJ Media, find the article there in the Tatler section. Within the article, you could find links for the extensive. If you want, because he really footnoted it and really did a lot of research on this. He's been working on it nonstop for...
When he writes books, they're like 1,000 pages long. So you could just imagine he's a serious researcher.
Andy can write as fast as I can read.
But can he write as fast as you can speak?
Yeah. So everyone should read the short article.
Okay.
If you find it interesting, catch the link within and again, it's Dr. Andrew Bostom, Bostom. It's PJ Media in the Tatler section, and it really just goes over the fact that so much of the rhetoric from the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem was straight out of the Quran and the Hadith, and there's no Mein Kampf in it. It was really straight Islam. Just like, similarly, I was reading last week, I was doing a little bit of refreshing my own brain cells and reading up on all the Israeli wars, 48, 56, 67, 73, and the rhetoric from the leaders of the surrounding attacking countries. It was clearly not really about territory and certainly not about Israeli aggression. It was about Islam. And the joke is that these leaders were considered, quote, secularists of their day. Secularists might mean that they don't walk around in robes and beards down to their belly buttons. But they were still the causation for those wars. And the rhetoric coming out of Nasser and Abdullah from Jordan was clearly anti-Semitic and Quran-based. And a lot of that is, what Andy Bostom's article goes over, and it's like a 40-page research paper, and anyone can read it over the weekend. But everyone should read
at least the
article version in the article.
At least the article
in the PJ Tatler, and then Andy will come on with us next week when Tom is back, and we'll have a good time with Andy and Tom, and we'll go over the evil that Islam is.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, you're talking about these the Arab leaders during the Israeli wars, the wars with Israel, the wars against Israel, as being secular leaders. Well, really, what they were Islamic leaders who were clients of a communist state. Is what they were. That was the Red-Green Alliance. And this Grand Mufti Husseini, who you're talking about, who, by the way, was Yasser Arafat's uncle, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. For those of you who may not be familiar with who this man was, we're talking about the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, who served his what do you call them? Congregants? No, they weren't even congregants.
Animals.
Well, during World War II. And he was responsible for the murders of how many people in Yugoslavia during the war?
I don't know.
The Bosnian, he set up special brigades to help the Nazis in Europe to exterminate Jews.
Yes, and helped supply the Nazi SS with Muslim brigades.
Right,
and units.
right, yeah.
Helped plan with the final solution plan. Also pressured the surrounding European countries not to accept Jewish refugees.
That's right.
Okay,
that's right.
so even
so that's what we're talking about when we're talking about this this article, and that was 60 years ago. 60, or is it 70? Gosh,
70.
It's 70 years ago already. But even more recently than that, here's another article that we can talk about if you want to mention it really quickly. This is from Jihad Watch. Kuwaiti Islamic scholar, quote, "First of all, as a Muslim, I believe that the Jews are evil."
Yes, I would.
That's the jumping point.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's the jumping point. And that would be from moderate Kuwait, right?
Yes, Kuwaiti Islamic scholar. First of all, as a Muslim, I believe that the Jews are evil. I love this man. I love this man.
Here's a quote from his interview. "You could say that the Jews are a group with a certain function. That is why then they ran secret organizations and secret parties, and why they practiced prostitution, usury, and so on." Good grief.
That's a great story.
Oh my gosh, yeah, there's just so much here. Interviewer, do you think that Hitler in his book Mein Kampf was being unfair to the Jews when he wrote in an entire chapter, "Wherever they are, the Jews are loyal only to their own groups and they segregate themselves from the country where they live"? And Muhanna Hamad al-Muhanna says, that's true.
That is true.
That's true. Well, if you watched our show or listened to our show yesterday with Rabbi Eli Kavon, and we were talking about some of the Jewish American attitudes towards Judaism and Israel yesterday, gosh, that whole business of segregation, that's just not happening here, is it? Not even a little bit. No, there's a lot of Jewish people in this country right now who think we need to segregate ourselves a little bit more, a little less assimilation, a little more acculturation instead. And it is now 46 minutes after the hour in our second week of No Tom Trento hosting Trento Vision.
Where is Tom now? Is he still in Israel?
He's still in Israel, but he's coming home soon, and he's going to be with us next week.
If he's lucky.
If he's lucky. Well, he didn't have you to pack his luggage, unfortunately, Mom. Your visa didn't get approved, did it?
No, it did not.
No,
I
it
was
didn't.
kept from going on this trip.
Yeah.
I was not going to go on their tour anyway. I was going to stay with my friends in the Gaza Strip, so
well,
it's okay.
Since you can't make that trip, are you going to be able to maybe...
Make Hajj?
Are you going to make the Hajj next week?
I will have to see. I will have to check the passport status. Getting to Saudi Arabia is much easier for someone like me than getting
they wouldn't let me in. They wouldn't let Mike in.
Then getting into Israel. Getting into Israel can be very difficult for someone with my reputation, shall we say.
I was reading that Saudi Arabia is expecting 3 million visitors next week for the Hajj. 3 million. How many people live in Saudi Arabia now? About 18 million?
No, it's bigger than that.
No, I think it's just a lot of sand. It looks bigger than it is. I don't think they have a big population. 18 million, 21 million, are you looking that up for me?
I am looking.
You are looking.
28.29 million.
28.
So their population increases.
Okay, I got the 8 right.
28.29.
Wow.
28 million, 29 million. So their population increases by about 10%.
Right. That's amazing.
Well, 10%. I mean, what do you think happens in Texas and Arizona and illegals on a regular basis?
3 million people. 30 million people would be 10% of us.
At least 11 million illegals here.
You know what? They've been here for so long.
Yeah.
You know, they've already been absorbed.
Yeah. Well,
they've already been absorbed.
To change the subject a little bit, you know, when we talked to Tom earlier, he's down south. He's down by the Sinai, basically.
Uh-huh.
And it's getting crazy in Egypt again, both with the Brotherhood rallying against the government, and then also the terrorists going after Egyptian military and police in the Sinai. And
they're killing them every day.
It's crazy over there right now.
Yeah.
Tom says it's getting crazy over there right now. And you know, here's an article.
Look at that shot. Yeah.
I mean, basically, 4 Egyptian soldiers killed in cyanide suicide blast.
Now, these terrorists who are killing the Egyptian soldiers and policemen in the Sinai. Who is that? That's Hamas. That's Al Qaeda.
Well, it's Brotherhood. There are all sorts of. I was going to say conservative, which they are. And, you know, our definition of conservative here, you think of, you know, Tea Party, you know, the conservative Republicans. When they're conservative is our extreme, you know, what we call extreme. Conservative meaning a conservative view of Islam. They're conservative. They grow their beards. They wear their robes. And, you know, they're hardcore Salafists, Wahhabists. And that's the that's the Brotherhood.
So what's the U.S. response to this?
The U.S. response is to stop funding the Egyptian military who's fighting the Muslim Brotherhood.
Right, because you wouldn't actually want to support your ally in a fight against terrorists, would you?
No,
You'd want to cut off their funding when they're being killed by terrorists.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, if that is not a clear another. I mean, we say this every week. The president does something at least once a week that we say, hey, is it not obvious he's extremely sympathetic towards the Muslim Brotherhood? I mean, it's every week it's something else.
Well,
and now you have the stopping the funding to El-Sisi.
Right. That's making us really popular in Egypt, by the way, with the man on the street.
They hate us.
Right.
They
absolutely
think we're
hate
idiots.
us.
Listen, the last week when the Brotherhood rallied, the citizens of Egypt were pelting them with rocks.
Yeah.
Okay, so the people of Egypt do not like the Brotherhood.
Right.
Obviously, the government, the military government that took back over. So no one likes the Brotherhood except for this
Obama.
Except for Barack
you know what?
Obama.
There's I don't know. It's almost like we need to have a flash on the screen of Department of Irony alerts or something like that. Because isn't this the same administration that admonished the Burmese government, the government of Myanmar, like this week or last week? I think we covered it this week or last week, and said you're not doing enough to protect the Muslim terrorists in your midst or something like that. You need to be more protective of...
Yeah, the State Department issued a stern warning to Burma that they needed to do more to protect the Muslims. Okay?
Right.
But yet, without a word about all the Christians being killed all over the Muslim world, particularly in Egypt and Syria right now.
Right. So then why doesn't the administration want the Egyptian Muslims to be able to protect themselves from those who are trying to harm them?
Because those who are trying to harm them are Obama's friends.
They're Obama's friends.
Obama, listen, back in 2009, in his famous Cairo speech, he made sure that the Muslim Brotherhood was in attendance at Cairo University. Okay? After that group was not allowed to do anything officially as a party.
Right.
You know, for decades and decades.
Yeah.
And so Obama made sure that the Brotherhood was in attendance, and that was the signal to go ahead and take out Mubarak.
That's right,
there.
because of the fact that the Brotherhood was in attendance meant that Mubarak himself could not attend, because he couldn't share the same space with the Muslim Brotherhood, who he outlawed in Egypt.
Yeah.
And that was the kickoff for the World Apology Tour of Barack Hussein Obama in his first term, and this was really the inspiration for
Arab Spring?
maybe the Arab Spring.
This is out of today's Jerusalem Post analysis. Egypt's message to Obama: keep your aid.
Yeah.
Okay. After U.S. cuts military aid to Cairo, Washington faces possibility that Egypt will turn to a rival country for aid. Quote, any inch Obama loses, another power will gain, and we will not mind, unquote, Egyptian official says. Okay, under that, a U.S. decision to curtail military and economic aid to Egypt to promote democracy may ultimately backfire, pushing Cairo to seek assistance elsewhere and giving Washington less leverage to stabilize a country in the heart of the Middle East, the most populous Muslim country in the Middle East.
Right, like 88 million people, something like that. There's those crazy eights again.
It's absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable that now that it is not a hardcore Islamic government, now we don't want to fund them.
Right.
You have to be a crazy jihadi lunatic for our administration to help you out.
Well,
essentially is the message that we're sending by stopping aid to Egypt now.
Well, put it this way. When one of your most important Homeland Security advisors is named Mohammed El-Bilyari.
El-Bilyari, yeah.
Yeah, and you are a supporter of the Muslim Brotherhood, and you are advising the president and the agencies of the U.S. government and the U.S. military as to how they ought to be dealing with the Muslim Brotherhood and the Muslim world, then you're going to get a little bit of a skewed vision.
Yeah.
Or either that, or you're just hiring the people who believe the same things that you do. And they're confirming it for you.
Yeah.
Dalia Mogahed from ISNA.
Yeah.
She helped write that Cairo speech. Who's his number one advisor in the White House and in his
Valerie
personal
Jarrett.
life? Hello.
An Iranian.
Yeah.
Communist. Her father was not just a guy who was a communist. He was one of the upper echelons, Communist Party USA. He wrote a communist newspaper. He was the editor-in-chief of a big communist newspaper. Barack Obama, his mentor in Hawaii, Frank Marshall Davis, not just a card-carrying member of Communist Party USA, a hugely influential in the cultural arts guy. Okay, I mean, that is what this administration is. That is why Israel... To bring this all back to Israel and where Tom is, Israel cannot rely upon this administration to save it.
No.
Benjamin Netanyahu has got a lot on his plate because, unlike in the past, Israel cannot count on the United States to have its back. And when it comes to Iran and with all this new fluffy, lovey-dovey stuff with Rouhani...
Prom date chasing Obama,
The quote, moderate. And people, let's get something straight right now. There's no such thing as long as the mullahs are in control in Iran.
The Ayatollahs
are in control in Iran. There is no such thing as a moderate
There's
president.
nothing moderate about it.
Because you cannot even get on the ticket without the approval of the mullahs and the Ayatollah, okay?
Yeah.
So anyone that's even approved on that, it doesn't matter who wins. Once it's election time, the Ayatollahs really don't care because they're 12ers, okay? Meaning they're end-of-timers, waiting for the last Mahdi. That's it. Because if you're not a 12er, if you are not a hardcore end-of-times Shia 12er, you're not even going to make it to the ballot.
Right.
So I don't want to hear that he's a moderate when he is all of those things that we just said you must be in order to be a candidate.
Right. It's interesting. The Azerbaijanis had their elections this week, and oops, by accident, they released the name of the winner the day before the elections were held. Now, it's not quite as bad as that in Iran, but it is predetermined. And what time am I going to on my
we have about 3.5 minutes.
We have about 3.5 minutes.
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
well, I do have Okay, you have one more thing to say about this? Because I have some thank yous that I want to do before the end of the show.
I just wanted to bring up one last story that Tom had mentioned during his interview today. And if you come over here on this screen, it's the retired IDF colonel killed in suspected terror attack.
Yeah.
Syria Ofer's wife injured while fleeing and alleged Palestinian perpetrators who targeted their Jordan Valley home. Now, Tom had said earlier that they actually did catch the Palestinian terrorists that did this. But this is the kind of animals that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
This is another reason. They're doing this so the peace process doesn't succeed. Anytime that there are peace processes going on, the Palestinians, whether it be Fatah or Hamas, will do something that requires an Israeli retaliation to violence and then blame it on the Israelis.
Well, not only...
And here you have some animals killing a retired Army colonel in order basically to disrupt peace talks.
It's not just that they're trying to provoke a response from the Israeli government. Really what they're doing is they're having a profound influence on the Israeli public who look at this and after 20 years plus of ridiculous Oslo posturing have said, this is enough. This is not, there's no such thing as land for peace. We reject it.
Yeah,
and they pressure their government to say, you know what? Why should I move my house so some animal can move in and burn it down?
And fire rockets.
And fire rockets at me where I move inland.
You got a little less than 2 minutes to do
Okay, a little less than 2 minutes. I want to thank, first of all, in the studio, I want to thank Invisible Mike and our producer, Damon, and our helpers, Imam Abdullah and Shmucky Putznick, for all the hard work and the excellent job that you've done on the show for the past 2 weeks. And I would like to thank our guest co-hosts and guests, Karen and Billy Vaughn, Mark Langfan, Peter Feynman, Ruth Roman, Alan Bergstein, Ryan Morrow, Rabbi Kavon, Alan Kornman, Angelo in the office, and Tom and Mark for sending us some great stuff while they were gone.
And Mr. Squeakers.
And Mr. Squeakers. And then I'm done. I have nothing left to say. How did I do on that time? Do I still have one more minute?
You still have a minute to go.
I still have a minute to go. Yeah. Okay.
Well, we'd like to thank our listeners for listening. We'd like to thank our viewers for watching and listening.
Okay.
We would like
definitely
to thank, the country of Israel for having Tom and Mark.
And not kicking them out.
And letting them in and taking them around. Ronnie Wexler in the Heritage Study Programs.
And Frank Gaffney.
Frank Gaffney with Center for Security Policy. We hope everyone that has not gotten back from Israel.
Okay, you're making me look
bad
bad
from Israel safe.
Look at that.
For those
look at all the people I left off the
list. Give us a call and tell us how it was. CJ, you got 15 seconds.
15 seconds. Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Stay tuned next week, 1470 AM, WNN, Trento Vision. Bye-bye.